You know, one of the questions I hear a lot from homeowners in the Denver suburbs right now is this: are houses actually selling, or is the market slowing down? And the honest answer is both. Some homes are selling the first weekend. Others are sitting for weeks, sometimes in the same neighborhood or even on the same street. So what's the difference? Today, I want to walk you through why some homes in the Denver market are still moving forward while others are stalling out, and what sellers can do before they list to give themselves the best chance of being in that first group. Now, if you watched my last video, we talked about why the first 14 days on the market matter so much. I'll link it down below for you. That early window is when buyers are forming their first impressions. But what happens after that is where we really start to see the difference between homes that sell and homes that stall. So let's start with the first thing buyers are reacting to right now. The biggest shift we're seeing right now with Denver buyers is this: they're very price conscious. Not necessarily unwilling to buy, but definitely more cautious. Interest rates are still higher than they were a few years ago, which means buyers are paying very close attention to monthly payments. And because the inventory has been slowly building in many of our Denver suburbs, buyers feel like they have something they didn't have for a while: options. And when buyers feel like they have options, they slow down, they compare, they visit 2 homes, 3 homes, sometimes 5 homes, and they start asking themselves which one feels like the best value. So when a home launches just a little higher than the buyers think the market supports, something interesting happens. They don't rush in hoping to win it, they step back and watch, because buyers today are comparing homes very carefully. And when something feels just a little above where the rest of the market is sitting, many of them simply move on to the next property that feels more aligned. I actually saw this recently in a colleague's listing. The house launched with a fantastic first weekend. Lots of showings, well-attended open house, great feedback about the home itself. But the one comment that kept repeating was, nice home, but priced a little high. Those buyers, they simply move on to other homes they feel closer to where the market was. But price isn't the only thing buyers are looking at right now. There's another pattern that's showing up pretty clearly across the Denver suburbs. Yeah, 2 homes can be in the same neighborhood, sometimes even on the same street, and one sells quickly while the other sits. And the most of the time, the difference comes down to something sellers don't even expect. For a while, during those very fast markets, buyers were willing to overlook quite a bit: cosmetic issues, aging systems, that unfinished project the seller planned to tackle later. But today, we're seeing buyers become much more selective again, and that's partially because of affordability. When buyers are already stretching their budget to purchase a home, they're much more cautious about walking into additional repair costs right after closing. They're paying attention to things like the condition of the roof, the age of the furnace and water heater, whether the home feels well maintained overall, and whether it looks like the seller prepared the property thoughtfully before listing. Now, that doesn't mean every home has to be perfect, not at all. But buyers are very good at sensing when a home has been cared for and thoughtfully prepared versus when it feels like it was simply put on the market to see what happens. And that impression often affects whether they're ready to write an offer for you or keep looking. I've seen buyers walk into 2 homes within minutes of each other. Similar size, similar price, but one feels move-in ready and the other feels like work. And the decision gets made pretty quickly. Can you guess which one they tend to pick? And the interesting thing is, most buyers make that decision within minutes of walking through the door. Not after sleeping on it, not after reviewing disclosures. They feel it almost immediately. And that leads to another factor that quietly determines whether a home sells quickly or stalls out. When a new listing hits the market, those first few showings are incredibly important, because buyers today don't just look at one house. They often schedule 3 or 4 homes in the same afternoon. And by the end of the tour, they're already ranking them in their mind. Which one felt right? Which one felt overpriced? Which one felt like work? And the homes that create the strongest first impression are the ones that usually keep the momentum going. Yeah, more showings, more interest, more serious conversations. But when those first buyers walk through and the feedback starts sounding like nice home, but, or we liked it, but we want to see what else comes up, that's usually a sign that the home hasn't quite connected with the market yet. And that's when a home launches and the early showings feel uncertain. Buyers start hesitating. They wait, they watch, they compare. They wait to see what happens next. And that's often when a home that looked promising in the beginning starts to lose momentum. I've actually had buyers walk out of a home and say, let's keep looking. Something about that one didn't feel quite right. And within the same afternoon, they found a different home where they were ready to write an offer. And this is where something else starts to happen that many sellers don't see right away. Because once a home has been on the market for a little while, buyers start reacting to it differently. Not because the house suddenly changed, but because the way the market sees it begins to shift. After a couple of weeks, buyers start noticing how long a home has been on the market. And when they see that number climbing, a new question starts popping into their minds. Why hasn't this sold yet? Now, sometimes there's a simple explanation. Maybe the home just came out a little high. Maybe it launched during a slow week. Maybe the right buyer just hasn't come through yet. But buyers don't always know that. What they see is days on market increasing. And once that happens, their behavior often changes. Instead of rushing to write an offer, they slow down. They wait. They watch for a price change. They start wondering if the seller might become more flexible. And that's when the momentum we talked about earlier can start to fade. Not because the home is bad, but because the market's perception has shifted. I've seen situations where a home sits for 3 or 4 weeks and suddenly the same buyers who passed on it earlier start circling back. But now they're expecting a better deal. So when people ask me right now, are houses selling in the Denver suburbs? The honest answer is yes, but not all of them. The homes that tend to move forward are the ones that are well prepared, priced realistically for today's market, and make a strong first impression when buyers walk through the door. The ones that struggle are often the homes that come out just a little bit off. Maybe it's in the price, maybe it's in the condition, maybe it's how they were positioned when they first launched. And once that early momentum slows down, sellers often spend the next few weeks trying to regain it, which is why so much of the real strategy actually happens before the listing ever goes live. Hey, if we haven't met yet, my name's Peggy Durstoff. I'm a realtor with Live Denver Suburbs, powered by HomeSmart. And I specialize in helping women over 50 make smart real estate decisions without pressure and without regret, especially if you're navigating this on your own or you're stepping into a new chapter. If you've been thinking about maybe selling this year and you want to talk through what the market might look like for your specific home here in the Denver suburbs, you'll find my contact information down below. Every home is different, and those early decisions often shape how the entire experience unfolds. And if you've been wondering why those first couple of weeks on the market carry so much weight, I did another video where I walk you through why the first 14 days on the market can shape the entire sale. I'll link it here so you can take a look, because preparation, timing, and momentum really do work together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.